Akwa Ibom. Rainy season. The sky over Uyo looked like it had swallowed a river, and was still chewing. Rain fell in sheets so thick the okadas hissed like snakes, and the raffia palms bent low, as if they were leaning in to listen for gossip. On a muddy street off Afaha, a young woman named Imabong walked as if the road belonged to her. Even though nothing else did, she was the kind of pretty that annoyed people who liked things neat. Her beauty wasn't delicate. It was stubborn. Sharp brows that refused to stay tamed. Skin the color of ripe Udara. A mouth that confessed truth, even when silence would have been safer. At 19, life had taught her to speak softly, but not to bow. Behind her gate stood a two-room house, with a zinc roof that sang whenever rain visited. Inside, her mother Etoro coughed, that dry, frightening cough that made the whole space feel thin. Bills stacked like insult. Tests, drugs, smoky herbal mixtures wrapped in newspaper. The shop Etoro once ran at the market had died the day her legs began trembling like leaves. Now money came from little miracles. Washing people's clothes, grinding pepper for neighbors, braiding hair under an orange tree. Never enough. That morning, Imabong returned with a plastic bag of gari and dried fish. The smell of rain and smoke followed her inside. Her mother lay on the mat, eyes brave and tired. Imabong, Etoro whispered, her voice light as harmattan dust. You have walked far again. I can walk farther, Imabong said, forcing a small smile. I will even walk to Port Harcourt, if money is hiding there. They ate gari floating in cold water. Sugar only in memory. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was heavy, with the question they never stopped asking. What now? By afternoon, the answer arrived. Loud and glossy, like trouble in Sunday clothes. A convoy of 2 cars splashed to a stop by their gate. From the first stepped Chief Akpan, pot-bellied, with a smile far too big for the truth. He owned half the land in the area, or at least believed he did. Beside him was Auntie Fawn, a distant relation who always appeared whenever life smelled like transaction. Imabong, my daughter? Chief Akpan boomed. Let us talk like family. Family. In Akwa Ibom, the word could mean blood, or simply the ability to complicate your life. They sat in the small parlor. Etoro tried to rise, failed, and managed a greeting from the mat. Chief Akpan's eyes scanned the room, the way a buyer inspects a goat. There is a young man, he began, his voice dripping like palm oil. A good man, hard-working, God-fearing. His name is a Nephiac, bricklayer, quiet type. He needs a wife who can manage home. And you, Imabong, you are too fine to keep wasting your light on small errands. I am here to arrange this blessing. The ceiling ticked like a clock made of rain. Imabong felt her spine stiffen. I will not marrying anybody, she said, soft and firm, like a knife wrapped in cloth. Auntie Fawn clicked her tongue. Children of nowadays, you think marriage is vanity? The man will take care of your mother. There will be money for hospital. Chief Akpan will stand as guarantor. Who else will bring you such favor in this economy? Etoro's cough shook the room. She reached for her daughter's hand and squeezed. Apology and fear pressed into her grip. Imabong's refusal was flame. Her mother's sickness was water. Which would win? Chief Akpan leaned forward, certain of victory. He is not rich, he said slowly, but he is steady, and steadiness is wealth. The insult hid in the compliment. Not rich, not much, just enough. Enough to make a poor girl grateful. Let me meet him first, Imabong said quietly. Good. Chief Akpan clapped once. Tomorrow evening, he will come with cola nut and small drinks, as tradition demands. When they left, the house felt smaller, as if the walls themselves had moved in to listen. Imabong knelt by her mother. "Mama, forget them," she whispered. "I will find a better way." Itoro's eyes softened. "Child, sometimes the river you refuse to drink will still carry you. If this is the road God opened, who am I to close it with thin hands?" Night crawled in, wet and humming. Imabong lay awake, imagining the future. She imagined working in Yuyo's boutiques, counted the money, subtracted rent, remembered hospital bills, and watched the sum collapse back to zero. She imagined school, but dreams that cost a fortune were luxury jokes. She imagined the man called Anifiak, a bricklayer, hands hard with cement, life hard with repetition. She imagined marrying for survival, and felt a sour taste rise in her throat. At dawn, she rose angry at the world, yet determined to greet it anyway. She fetched water while the sky was still half asleep, the streets rinsed clean. By the time she returned, the neighborhood had started its daily poem. Generators clearing their throats, children marching in uniforms, Akwa Oil waking up, bus conductors already singing. She spent the day braiding a neighbor's hair, fingers moving like a rehearsed prayer. The neighbor, an auntie with eyes that misses nothing, said softly, "Marriage, huh? It is well, let's see," Imabong replied. "Sometimes poor men have the richest hearts. Sometimes rich men hide their hearts under concrete." The auntie laughed. "True, but God knows what he is doing, even when we don't. Keep your eyes open." Evening arrived with its purple light. Imabong wrapped a yellow wrapper round her waist, tied a scarf that made her cheekbones look like statements, and waited. He came without noise. No convoy, no crowd, just a young man walking like he belonged to the ground. Taller than she expected, dark, shoulders built by labor, a face carved in careful lines. His eyes were the first surprise. They were not tired. Most bricklayers in her world wore eyes like faded fabric. He looked alert, almost amused, as if life were a puzzle he enjoyed solving. He greeted the house with respect, placed cola nut and soft drinks on the table, sat only after Itoro insisted. When he spoke, his voice was warm and low. "My name is Anifiak, son of Okon of Nkpatenin. I am a builder." Then a faint smile. "Bricklayer, if we must be ordinary." Imabong studied him, a small scar near his brow, the kind earned by boys who climbed mango trees and fell laughing. Strong fingers, but nails neat. Too neat for a man who claimed to live in cement. Chief Akpan boasted. Auntie Fawn nodded. Anifiak said little, answering Itoro's questions with simple respect. He didn't look at Imabong the way men looked at things they wanted to own. Look, as though he was reading. "Will you take care of my mother?" Imabong asked finally. "I will honor her," he said. "Honor is not medicine." "No," he agreed. "But money can pay for medicine, and a husband who listens can make room for both." It wasn't a promise. It was a sentence that sat upright, clean. When he left, Chief Akpan whispered to Imabong, "Say yes quickly. Doors don't wait forever." Itoro turned her face to the wall. Tears, like visitors, didn't need encouragement. She was a proud woman. Pride doesn't feed the body, but it feeds the soul. And now, her soul was starving. That night, Imabong stepped outside and sat on the low step. The rain had tired itself out. The moon hung low, like a lantern someone had forgotten to turn off. She sat with her thoughts again. The one with school, the one with work, the one with a ring. She thought of her mother's chest rising like a stubborn tide. She thought of Anifiak's eyes that did not look poor. By morning, she had made her decision. "I will marry him," she told Chief Akpan. His face stretched in triumph. "Ah, wise girl, you see how blessing comes." But if blessing was standing in that room, it wore a disguise. The wedding was a sprint. In Akwa Ibom, the fastest way to shame is to make a hungry plan and then wait. People gathered in the church with plastic chairs and hungry eyes. The choir sang with the energy of people who knew God personally. A pot of jollof bubbled outside, scent strong enough to make even demons repent. Imabong wore a white gown that looked borrowed from a richer story. Anifiek wore a well-pressed shirt and a suit that fit like discipline. He held her hand lightly, as if it were something fragile, and armed, when the pastor asked the question, and the congregation leaned forward to taste gossip. Imabong said, "I do," with a throat that trembled and a spine that did not. Anifiek said, "I do," like a man signing a contract he had written himself. After the rice and laughter, after the bad speeches and good blessings, they left in a small kiki that buzzed like a stubborn fly. Not to a honeymoon in Calabar, not to a hotel in Ikit, but to a compound in Kpat-Enin, where a narrow house sat at the end of a lane that looked like a secret. Inside, the room waited. Clean, almost plain. A bed, a table, a small wardrobe, a raffia mat rolled near the door like a promise. On the table, a neat stack of notebooks, and a pen with gold trim. Nobody in that room should own. "I will make you tea," Anifiek said, moving with quiet confidence to a kettle in the corner. "Tomorrow, we will go and see a friend for your mother's medicine." "Which friend?" she asked, suspicious, yet hopeful. "A pharmacist. He owes me a favor." "How?" "I built him a dispensary," he replied, pouring hot water with a surgeon's patience. "Everybody owes the man who builds their walls." He handed her a cup. Their fingers touched. No electricity jolted through her. Something quieter did. Steadiness, like a drumbeat behind a song. Days followed. Anifiek woke before the town, left for sights before the cocks cleared their voices, returned with cement dust in his hair and plans in his eyes. He listened more than he spoke, and when he spoke, his ideas wore work boots. He visited Etoro often, leaving behind envelopes that did not look like a bricklayer's pay. He knew the price of zinc, the price of sand, the price of sadness, but also the price of dignity. And he paid it quietly, without receipt. One evening, as the sky bled orange, he stood by the window writing in one of his gold-trimmed notebooks. Columns, figures, names. "What are you counting?" Imabong asked. "Other people's needs," he said softly, almost smiling. "And how to build rooms inside them." "Rooms?" He closed the notebook gently. "Every problem is a house looking for a builder." She laughed. "You and houses." "Me and houses," he echoed. Later that night, after the generator's grumble fell asleep, Imabong woke to the soft sound of a phone call. Anifiek's voice was low, carrying codes down the line. "Yes, Phase 2 is complete. Move the funds to the Orphan LLC. Then split to the cooperatives by morning. No, keep my name where it belongs. Under cement." A pause. Then quietly, "Thank you." He ended the call the second he felt the air shift behind him. To find Imabong watching. "Who were you speaking to?" she asked, her mouth bent in a curious frown. "A supplier," he said smoothly. "We start another project. Big one." "What project?" "The biggest kind," he said, a hint of mischief in his voice. "The one nobody sees, until the roof is already on." He kissed her forehead and told her to sleep. But sleep had left the house. Questions sat with her. Patience dressed as hunger. She did not yet know that the man the world called Bricklayer had another name, in rooms with no signboards. That his hands built more than walls. That his money moved like shadows at noon, short and hard to notice. She did not know that her marriage had carried her into the center of a story that would test her courage. and teach her the true weight of wealth. She did not know that the poor husband the village mocked was the quiet owner of their laughter. She only knew the rain had returned, whispering secrets to the roof, and some secrets were ready to be heard. The rain drummed harder that night, like a choir insisting on being heard. Ima lay awake, staring at the zinc roof that turned storms into music. Her husband's words, "The project nobody sees until the roof is already on," looped in her mind like a stubborn song. She turned to look at him. He was asleep, or pretending. His chest rose steadily, one hand relaxed open. No poor man she knew slept like that. Poverty bent shoulders. Poverty made eyes dart, restless. But Anifiak? He carried himself like a man insured by heaven. At dawn, he was gone. On the table lay 3 crisp 5,000 Nigerian nairas notes, folded neatly, with a scribbled paper. For food. Imabong stared. A bricklayer's daily pay in Uyo barely touched 2,500 Nigerian nairas. Where was this extra coming from? By the weekend, the market was buzzing with her story. Women leaned over heaps of crayfish and muttered, "Fine girl like Imabong, ending up with bricklayer. Not poverty push am, but see the man. Always neat. Too neat." The whispers clung to her like palm oil stains. Her friend Imabong, sharp-tongued as ever, caught her by the okro stall. "Imabong, abeg talk true," Imabong said, eyes wide. "How bricklayer day drop money like bank teller? Abi na juju." "Imabong, what? I day talk weddin everybody day think. His nails no get cement scars. And who bricklayer day carry pen way shine past chairman own." Imabong forced a laugh, but it cracked halfway. Maybe God just favor him. Imabong leaned closer. Favor no day hide forever. If him get secret, na you dem go ask. When e burst, shine your eye. That evening, Anifiak came home early. On his wrist glowed a black, sleek watch. Nothing like the plastic ones in the market stalls. "Where did you get this?" Imabong asked before she could stop herself. "This?" He glanced down casually. "Gift from a friend." "What friend gives a poor man such a gift?" He smiled faintly. "A grateful one." Her eyes narrowed. "You talk in riddles too much." Instead of answering, he set a bag on the table. Rice, canned milk, sardines, and imported tea. Imported? In her mother's house, tea meant Lipton dust and hot water. This was different. "I thought bricklayers earned daily pay," she said carefully. "Imabong," he replied, finally meeting her gaze. "If you keep judging a man by his title, you'll miss the size of his hands." A week later, he insisted on visiting Etoro. Imabong braced herself for awkwardness. A son-in-law with little to offer, except prayers. Instead, Anifiak pressed a fat envelope into the pharmacist's hand. Her full treatment. 3 months ahead. The pharmacist blinked. "This is more than enough. Then keep balance for her next round," he said. Etoro's eyes filled with tears. "Anifiak, my son, where is all this coming from?" He knelt slightly, head bowed. "Mama, allow me carry small of your burden. You gave me your daughter. What is money compared to that?" Imabong's suspicion burned hotter, but her mother's gratitude silenced her. That night, temptation won. When Anifiak stepped out to fetch water, Imabong opened one of his notebooks. Not cement calculations, not block measurements. Charts, figures, foreign names, LLC, holdings, millions, and scrawled across the top. The less they see, the safer the foundation. Her stomach twisted. She barely had time to shut the book before he returned. "You touched my things," he said quietly, his eyes unreadable. "I was just cleaning." A long pause. Then, to her surprise, a small smile. Curiosity builds sharper minds. but his tone carried warning. The revelation came by accident. On a Friday evening, Imabong followed him to a construction site. She expected mud, sweat, men stacking blocks under the sun. Instead, she found organized chaos. Workers in branded overalls, trucks delivering materials in neat rhythm, surveyors marking plots. At the center stood a foreman barking orders. But when a Nephiac approached, the man bowed his head slightly. "Sir, the surveyors have arrived." "Sir, not brother, not colleague. Sir." Imabong's breath caught. "You wanted to know what I build," a Nephiac said softly. "Now you've seen. A little." "Who are you really?" she whispered. His answer was only a smile. That night, Imabong's chest would not settle. Her husband was no ordinary bricklayer. He was hiding something vast. A secret billionaire? A fraud? A political puppet? She didn't know, but she knew one thing. Secrets this big don't stay buried forever. And when they break the surface, they carry storms. The morning after the site visit, Imabong couldn't shake what she had seen. Men in uniforms calling her husband sir. Not brother, not worker, sir. She began to notice what she had ignored before. The way a Nephiac never haggled in the market. The casual way he peeled off crisp notes. The polished accent that slipped out when he forgot to soften his English. By day, he carried blocks. By night, he carried secrets. Soon, the whispers grew louder. At the market, women leaned over heaps of fish and said, "Bricklayer with tinted car? Impossible. Nalai dem day live together." The words followed her like shadows. That night, she woke to urgent voices outside their window. "Money for the land deal," one man hissed. "Quiet, before neighbors hear," another replied. Then, her husband's voice, calm, steady. "You'll get what's yours, but not here. Not now." Moments later, a car engine growled away. Imabong's chest tightened. She slipped to the window, just in time to see a Nephiac with a phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, transfer 10 million to the Port Harcourt account. And make sure Akpan doesn't hear a whisper. If anyone asks, I am still just a mason." Million. That wasn't mason talk. She stumbled back into bed, pretending to sleep when he returned. The next evening, Imabong's courage rose. "A Nephiac, what are you hiding from me?" He looked at her steadily, almost expecting the question. Then he reached for her hand. "Do you trust me?" he asked. "I want to." "Then hold on to that. I'm building something bigger than us. And secrecy is the price." Her frustration spilled. "People whisper in the market. They laugh at me. They see you poor one day, rich the next. Who exactly did I marry?" His jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he might finally confess. But instead, only a small smile. "You married a man who refuses to be small." When Imabong visited her mother, Itoro's eyes searched her face. "Child, your spirit is restless. Is your husband treating you well?" "Yes," Imabong lied. Itoro coughed, then gripped her wrist. "Imabong, wealth is not always blessing. Sometimes it is test. Sometimes a trap. Pray his secret does not bury you inside it." Her warning echoed like thunder. Trouble wore Agbada when it came. "Chief Akpan." He stormed into the compound with a forced smile, pulling a Nephiac aside. "You think you can hide money from me? I know who you are. Bricklayer is just costume. Give me my cut, or I scatter everything." Imabong froze behind the curtain. But a Nephiac's reply was calm, almost amused. "Thief, some walls are too high for you to climb. Be careful not to break your leg trying." Akpan's face twisted. He stormed off, muttering curses. Imabong pressed her back to the wall, heart rattling like zinc in storm. The mask was cracking. The secret was slipping out. And now, someone dangerous knew. That night, Imabong laid awake. Should she confront him until he broke? Should she keep pretending, enjoying the comfort his hidden money brought? Or should she run, before his shadow swallowed her whole? She turned to watch him sleeping, chest steady, face calm, as though the world itself couldn't trouble him. And in that moment, she knew, whatever he was hiding, revelation was coming, like harmattan wind, slow, dry, and impossible to stop. The morning air in Pat Enin was sharp with harmattan dust, but inside Imabong's chest, fire burned hotter. She had seen too many cracks in her husband's story. The whispers, the money, the threats. It was time for answers. One afternoon, a Nephiac returned from site work. In a tinted car, he parked it a street away, then walked home on foot, like nothing happened. Imabong met him at the door. Who are you really, a Nephiac? Don't tell me bricklayer. Don't tell me riddles. Tell me the truth. He set his bag down slowly, his eyes steady. And if the truth is heavier than you think you can carry, then I'll grow stronger shoulders. For the first time, his expression softened. Not amused, not guarded, almost proud. That night, he opened a hidden door. Not a storeroom, an office. Laptops hummed, files lined the shelves. Land deeds, bank papers, company seals. Maps of Uyo, Calabar, Port Harcourt, marked with pins. 3 foreign phones sat on the desk. Imabong gasped. This is not a poor man's room. A Nephiac turned, voice low. Imabong, I own Ibom Builders and Holdings. Every major project in this state carries my name. Hidden behind partners. The block I carry by day is camouflage. Poverty is my disguise. Her knees weakened. A billionaire? He smiled faintly. On paper, yes. In reality, just a builder with too much money to admit. Why pretend? She demanded. Why marry me like this? Because wealth paints a target on your back, he said firmly. When people see riches, they stop seeing you. They only see what they can take. Akpan, politicians, even family. He stepped closer. I needed a wife who would love me for me, not for my bank account. And you chose me thinking I had nothing. That's the only truth I could trust. Her breath shook. She wanted anger, but somewhere deep inside, pride flickered. But secrets don't stay safe. 2 nights later, the compound erupted with noise. Chief Akpan had returned, this time with thugs. Bring him out. Akpan roared. Let everybody see the liar who calls himself a mason, but hides billions. Neighbors poured out, eyes hungry for drama. Imabong's heart thundered. We must run. But a Nephiac stood tall, unshaken. He stepped outside, facing Akpan and his men beneath the yellow glow of kerosene lamps. You came to expose me? He said calmly. Then expose me fully. Akpan sneered. Pay me my share or I scatter everything. A Nephiac laughed. Low, dangerous. Chief, you cannot scatter what you cannot build. I've buried my wealth in trusts, schools, cooperatives. Even if you scream till dawn, nobody will find a kobo in my pocket. But they will see the roads I built, the hospitals I roofed, the schools I funded. And you? They will see only your greed. The crowd murmured. Akpan's men shifted, loyalty faltering. Leave, a Nephiac said, voice steady. Before the night swallows you. Akpan's face twisted. But he left. Inside, Imabong collapsed onto the raffia mat. Tears spilled. You've exposed me to danger. To enemies. To secrets. Yes, a Nephiac admitted, kneeling beside her. But also to power. To purpose. Imabong, I need you. Not as cover, but as a partner. She looked at him. The man who lied, yet loved. Who hid, yet gave, who carried blocks by day and moved millions by night. Her mother's warning echoed. Sometimes wealth is blessing, sometimes a trap, and Imabong knew she now stood at the crossroads of both. Weeks later, Yuyo buzzed with a new headline. Anonymous benefactor funds free medical care for widows and orphans. In the market, women whispered, maybe Imabong married the right man after all. At home, she sat beside her husband as he drew new plans with that gold trim pen. She no longer asked who he truly was. She knew. He was both bricklayer and billionaire, both disguise and destiny. And she, once the poor village girl, had become the keeper of his greatest secret. The rain returned, heavy and whispering against the zinc roof. But this time, Imabong did not fear its sound. She held her husband's hand, and in that storm, she heard not danger, but the sound of a future being built. If you were moved by this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because more tales of truth, love, and betrayal are yet to come.